our lives have changed. Pretty much, epilepsy took over our lives. Dominic is almost 9 years old now, and we've been through a lot. He's been through a lot. We've been through a lot of medication, diet. He's got VNS, and we've tried CBD, pretty much whatever we can get our hands on, we tried. We've seen multiple doctors. One of the heartbreaking part, seeing different doctors as well, when one doctor pretty much told us, we can't do anything else for Dominic, or I don't know what else to do for Dominic. Feel free to shop around for another doctor, pretty much.
You're a great advocate for our son. I think probably the most tremendous blessing that he has and that we have in our lives is a support group, our family and friends, but Dominic's got a wonderful mother, and I hope you know that. As you all know, the reason that we're here tonight for Teresa's birthday, in a celebration of her life, epilepsy affects pretty much every family and anyone that's involved with it differently. It can onset early on in years, it can onset later on in years, and everyone has a little bit different experience with it. And as my wife alluded to, yes, it does tend to take over your life in many different ways, from searching medications and doctors and treatments and just trying to make things better for your child, to the joys that it brings and the perspective that it brings, and bringing people together, just like it's done here tonight, for a cause, whatever that may be. So it's been difficult, yes, but it's also been very rewarding. We've had the pleasure of having this little boy in our lives. We've been blessed with him, and I really feel that we were chosen to take care of this child, for whatever reason that is. And for that, we're forever grateful. And we've been given so many wonderful friends and coworkers and family members along the way that have helped to support us and get us through this journey.
To continue to add on, because as a parent, you always wanted to know, what can you do for your son? With the epilepsy, we've always had the diagnosis of idiopathic, meaning unknown. So we kept going and tried to find an answer. I'm gonna start talking about Dr. Sullivan. So was 2009 is when we met Dr. Sullivan at an event, another epilepsy event. And then we decided to see him because we needed another doctor to find an answer and help us move along with Dominic. With all the testing we've done, the medication that Dr. Sullivan had helped us, last year we did a genetic testing called whole exome sequencing. There you go, missing that part. Which is, we'll have Dr. Sullivan explain the whole thing, but it's sequencing the whole DNA. And we recently just got the diagnosis that Dominic has a genetic mutation called SCN8A, which causes his epilepsy and other developmental delays. And I'll segue to Dr. S to talk more about the science part of it.
Sure. Well, thank you all for coming. And thank you to Princess and Manford for asking me to be part of this. I'm continue to be amazed by parents like yourselves who have where epilepsy has affected your life, and you have a lot going on taking care of a kid with difficult to control seizures, and the fact that you can come out to an event like this and support research is huge, so thank you. So I remember when we met at that event, and I'm not up here to claim that I have the answers, because there's still a lot that we need to know. But if we go back to when we first met, and Dominic had already been under the care of good physicians who had done a lot of testing, I certainly didn't know what was wrong with him when he first saw me. And I try to put this in the context of how far behind we are in epilepsy. Imagine going to the eye doctor and they say, we think you got a vision disorder, and they just say, try these glasses. That's kind of where we are right now. Or imagine you have a fever or you have a pneumonia, and someone says, okay, I think you have some bacteria, but I'm not really sure what it is. Just take this antibiotic, and if it doesn't work, we'll try another one. It's very different, right? You have a vision test, they figure out what type of glasses you need to make your vision better. Or if you have a pneumonia, you spit into a cup and they send it off to the lab and they say, you have this bacteria, and we know that if you take your penicillin, you'll be better in 10 days. In epilepsy, we don't have that luxury, and we're getting better. For Dominic, when I first saw him, I thought he might have this syndrome called Dravet syndrome. Turns out he does not have that. But I thought that based on how he presented the seizure types that he was having at that time, that was kind of the thing that he fit the best into. We did some targeted genetic testing at that time, and the testing came back negative. That still doesn't necessarily mean that he didn't have Dravet syndrome. We were still operating on that assumption, and we were using that sort of diagnosis to help guide his treatment. So then a couple years ago, this whole exome sequencing became available, and this will give you maybe some perspective in terms of the pace at which science is advancing. So about 10 years ago, in order to do this test, it would have cost about $150,000 to do the test. 5 years later, it's actually down to about $6,000. And they can actually turn it around in about 6 to 8 weeks, and before it would have taken 6 to 8 months. So science is progressing, thankfully, at a rapid pace. The problem is these tests, $7,000 is still expensive. And a lot of times we will get results and we have no idea what to do with them. In Dominic's case, it was luck, right? I can't stand up here and say, I knew it was the SCN8A, I knew it. And so for those of you in the audience who are like, what the heck is SCN8A? We're not gonna go into that. But it's more than just a bunch of letters, because it gives us an answer, right? And it gives families like Princess and Manford, they can go out and they can search for other families who have children that are affected by SCN8A. And right now, what are there? Probably like 25? How many? That you've been in network with in the US?
Well, worldwide, it's only 90 plus who's been diagnosed with SCN8A.
Worldwide, so that's 90 people. So yet, people now, that allows us to look at these kids as one group. So we can then say, well, what do those kids look like when they're 5 years old, 10 years old, 15 years old? We can ask the question, what seizure medications work better for these kids? Just like the analogy of when you have an infection and a pneumonia, and we can say which medication will make you better. Unfortunately, right now, that is not translated into a whole lot of improvements for Dom, but it's going to, and that's why we're all here tonight. So the science fiction part of this, and maybe I'll let Princess quickly make a comment here and then I'll jump back in, is the power of social networking and how this brings not only families together, but researchers together. And so tell me how you ended up going to Michigan.
Okay, so we got a diagnosis the week before Thanksgiving, SCN8A. So what the heck is this? We did our research. I went to Google University, went online and searched SCN8A. There wasn't that much information out there because the genetic mutation is just fairly new, not much study out there. So what we did, I searched for the doctor's name, look for their email address online, and start emailing them. I said, hey, my son we just got diagnosis from my son that he has SCN8A. I see that you're the one that discovered the SCN8A gene in the mouse back in 2005. Can we talk? Can we chat? Sure enough, that same week that I emailed Dr. Miriam Meisler, she was in the same conference with Dr. Sullivan, and they were already talking about Dominic. So everything, it's just going along, and then Dr. Sullivan put us in touch with another geneticist who, his name is Dr. Michael Hammer. He found the genetic in the human in 2012 or 2013. And unfortunately, he found the genetic from his daughter that passed away from SUDEP. And since then, he made it a point that he's just gonna study this genetic mutation and learn more about it in honor of his daughter. So it's great getting in touch with all the doctors, and we got in touch with there's a Facebook private page for all the SCN8 parents all over the world. We can email or we can connect and talk about our kids privately. And so basically we're trying to learn more. I want to get more answers. The more answers you can get, the more I feel at ease. And just wanted to know, because Dominic is 8 or almost 9, and the oldest I've seen is only 16 years old. So it makes you start to wonder what's more out there for SCN8. So when then Dr. Mira Meisler is a great doctor, and they're from Michigan. Her lab is in Michigan. And it just so happened that my husband's from Michigan, and we used to live there. And so we made a...
and Dominic was born there.
Dominic was born in Michigan, so we used to live there. And Dr. Miriam Messer, I said, hey, can we visit your lab? I'd like for you to meet Dominic. You know, this is the human with the SCN8 genetics. So she said, yes, come over, we'll show you the lab. And we'll introduce you also to another doctor named Jack Parent, which is doing the study of the SCN8 on the zebra fish. So, and then they said, if you're interested, if you'd like to donate Dominic's DNA so we can study it. So we didn't hesitate. We were like, yeah, why not? You know, the more, you might not be able to help Dominic now, whatever study they're doing. I know down the road, it can help other families and other kids. So we took a trip to Michigan this April to see family, and also visited the lab, and Dominic donated his biopsy for research.
So I promise this is not going to be a lesson in genetics. We're going to wind down here, and then we'll open up questions if anyone has. But so how is this research? It's getting for me, even as a physician scientist, to be a little bit science fiction and exciting. So this lab in Michigan and other labs around the world are now able to take a small little skin biopsy that's probably about the size of a Tic Tac. Pretty painless procedure, and they can actually take that skin, and through a lot of fancy experiments, they can actually grow brain cells. And so, you know, to get back to my pneumonia analogy, you spit in the cup. It's easy to just subject many bacteria to many different antibiotics to see which one works. Right? When you have a child with a genetic mutation, or if you have a child who does not have an answer, we're subjecting that child to essentially a trial and error. Let's see if this medication works. But now, with this new technology, these scientists can take those cells, make them into working human brain cells that have this mutation, and then they can study multiple drugs that are out there and already approved in these cells to see if they actually help with seizures. And then, not to say that cells in a dish translate back to the human brain, but it at least gives us a little bit of guidance as opposed to this trial and error approach. So we are all very excited, which leads me to where some of the proceeds, or all the proceeds from this goes to CURE, who is sponsoring a project that many of you probably got an email with a little video, a little whiteboard cartoon, where essentially we are looking to take all of these exomes, right? So all of these tests that are done on kids and adults with unexplained epilepsy, and put them into a big database, and have that database be looked at and re-evaluated and reassessed every 6 months, so that we can not only find new genes that may explain why people are having seizures, but equally and more importantly, hopefully translate that into new and better treatments. I wish I could say, I think that that's going to give us a lot of great cures within the next 5 years. I think even though science is going fast, to think that we're gonna make a lot of headway in 5 years, I think is a little bit ambitious, but I do think that 10 years is a huge amount of time. And with you guys coming out and supporting an event like this, it's gonna make research projects like that be able to happen. So.
And Dominic signed up this year for the EGI, so he's one of the participants.
So, does anybody have any questions? It can be anything. I promise you.
What's the EGI?
Yeah, so EGI stands for the Epilepsy Genetics Initiative. And again, it's this study that is essentially trying to recruit patients who have epilepsy, who've had this gene testing done, and get their permission to share that information with this central repository, so that data, so it's not just a test that's done, you get a result, and the story ends there. The analysis continues over time, and just like any complex problem to solve, the more data you have and the more similarities that you can find in that data, the more potential we actually have to find an answer.
Just to add to that, I think one of the most encouraging things right now is that, and Dr. Sullivan certainly alluded to it, this whole exome sequencing is becoming more and more available on the market, so that more people can have it done, and the more people that have it done, obviously the more opportunity there is to study it and find answers. So insurance companies are helping, and obviously events like this are helping as well. And it's an exciting time I guess, to be in epilepsy research, and exciting to be a part of it.
Good. So thank you again for coming. Enjoy the music, the raffle.
Oh, one more thing. Erin, come up. So, Wells Fargo has also been a big supporter of CURE. And where are all my Wells Fargo peeps? So, I know this is a big deal. 5 years for Teresas. And on behalf of Wells Fargo, we're presenting you a check to count towards tonight's event for $10,000.